We are now joined by the two chairmen. Howard Dean ran for president and ran the Democratic Party. He also served as governor. Michael Steele ran the Republican National Committee and also served as lieutenant governor of Maryland. Thanks to both of you for having this conversation.
Hey, good to be with you, Ari.
Appreciate it. Michael Steele, as you know, they say there's no party like a national party because a national party don't stop, or they say something like that.
Yeah.
And here is a here's a party that you used to run. I know you care about a traditional conservatism as well as patriotism. Viewers have heard that you preferred Biden over Trump in the last election, but what do you do when the lies won't stop and a larger share of the party's rank and file members, and particularly its most vocal activists, are lining up with these lies?
Yeah, that's the challenge. I mean, how do you turn that corner? You know, how do you bust through that den of lies to sort of, expose it for what it is and to pull out, save as many people as you can from them? It's hard. And in the past, we would always look to our leaders to do that. We would look at the majority or the minority leader of our party in the Senate, or the Speaker of the House, or the minority leader of our party in the House, to be that voice to sort of pull us away from the tip of crazy. But they're the ones who are leading the charge. So it's harder now because they've become spineless. Mitch McConnell knows damn well that what he said was a load of you-know-what, talking about, well, when I look at this, I don't see any need for it. Right. Did you say that when you guys were investigating Benghazi for untold millions, 33,000 times? No, you thought there was something legitimate there and you went after it. This ain't Benghazi. It's worse. It's 10 times worse. It impacts the entire country in a way. And you sit there going, well, there's no there. It's not credible. It's not believable. So when you ask the question, how do you pull people away from that inside the throes of it, it's hard to do when the leadership are the ones who are perpetuating. It is beyond Trump at this point, Ari. It is now systemically a part of the narrative that is infused and reused by our leadership. And that is a harder nut to crack.
Yeah, and you said narrative. I wonder whether it's congealing into the orthodoxy. I wonder, Governor Dean, whether it's becoming, like a type of absurd and dangerous litmus test where people have to lie about someone else's loss. I mean, that's what's really wild about this, Governor, is Republicans who did win office with whatever their own strategy was have to run around and lie about a different politician's loss to maintain their standing. And so it's Baroque. It's a joke. I do want to play some of the joke of it with the way the late night folks have been going at the amateur audits, but also get your response. Let's look at this and hear from you on the other side.
Nowhere have Republicans held on to the big lie more fervently than the great state of Arizona.
It feels like this con is never going to end.
Now, it's easy to dismiss this Arizona audit, but there's at least one person who's pretty sure that it's going to put Donald Trump back in power. And you'll never guess who that person is.
What other genius ideas do they have? Only the real ballots will float, so let's throw them in the river. If they sink, it's fraud. I mean, what's next? They feed the real ballots to a bunch of chickens and then incinerate the chickens? Oh, that is next? Wow, I'm getting good at this.
Governor?
That actually is a critical way to fight back against this. We are watching something that we haven't seen for a long time in this country, but it happens in many democracies, and it's the weak point of democracies. When one side figures out how to use democracy to undermine democracy. Mm-hmm. So what these folks are doing essentially is what Hitler did. It's what Viktor Orban did in Hungary. It's what Kaczynski is doing in Poland. Democracy dies because you no longer care about democracy. The Republicans have no commitment to democracy at this point. There are very few that do. Kinzinger is somebody who's standing up. Liz Cheney stood up for what was right. But most of them are running around subservient to somebody who never cared about democracy, and that's Donald Trump. So this is a really critical, this next few years is going to determine whether the United States survives as the cradle of democracy.
Yeah, and Michael Steele, I mean, to the governor's point, although different dictators had different agendas, so I don't think there's equivalence on what they did. But you certainly have, throughout world history, places where elections occurred and they were largely normal, and then they gave way to the end of elections. Or sham elections like what you have. People know what you have in Russia. They have a thing they call an election, but it's not one. And so, Michael, when you look at that